Hello and welcome to Premier League All Access with me, Sam Matterface, and talkSPORT's chief football correspondent, Alex Crook. Alongside us this week, a very happy man indeed. It is the former Arsenal winger, title winner, Perry Groves. We're here to discuss all the Premier League action from the weekend. This is what's coming up on the show.
For Arsenal, it was tactically a very disciplined display. It was their intelligent performance, and even more impressive, they did it without their star boy, Bukayo Saka. So it did feel like a statement victory.
As a gooner, it couldn't have gone any better, considering that wasn't our full-strength side either.
Subconsciously, some players do drop off, and I think we're seeing that from Manchester City.
We all clearly know he should have been sent off. Every one of us has looked at that situation and gone, that's a yellow card. Why has he not made that call?
He's got to have, Ten Hag, the courage of his convictions. He's got to make sure that he puts a heart and soul into this, because the culture in the whole club ain't good. It's basically rotten from the top all the way down to the players. The culture isn't great.
That was an Oscar-worthy performance, wasn't it? I mean, it was pretty embarrassing for Yves Bissouma.
Through the spine of their team, they're in no danger of getting relegated. They can end up halfway without any shot.
No danger of getting relegated?
No chance, absolutely no chance. They've got too many. If you look at the group of players, individually, the group of players he has at Everton are far better than the group of players that
they've almost been relegated in each of the last 2 years. Well, there's a couple of penalty decisions in this Brighton Liverpool game which I think deserve scrutiny.
What the referee in the VAR didn't think was a goal-scoring opportunity this week, a different referee in VAR will think it's a definite goal-scoring opportunity next weekend. I think it was probably a red card.
Hello boys, you all right?
Good, yourself?
Very good. Everyone of us was at the Emirates Stadium on Sunday to watch Arsenal's victory over Manchester City. How are you feeling? Because you were nervous. Even when you were 1-0 up, you were nervous.
Well, you two kept saying that the game's done and dusted. There was still 4 minutes of normal time to go. There's another, I think, 4 minutes of added on time, and you think Man City are going to create a chance.
They didn't, did they?
No, they didn't, because when Martinelli scored, obviously it was a deflection off of Nathan Ake's head. I looked at the Man City body language of players, and it was very sort of depressed. There was all slumps, you know. There was sort of bent over double. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There was no rabble-rousing to each other.
That's why we were telling you to calm down, but you were just absolutely ardently sitting there saying, "No, it's not done yet. It's not done yet." This is a rare occurrence for all of us, isn't it? Because all three of our teams have won this weekend. That hasn't happened at all this season.
Well, that's mainly because of you and I, and not him, to be honest. But you're right. Yeah, that is an unusual hat-trick.
Yeah. Okay. So let's get into it, because it's been a thrilling weekend of football, as you would expect in the Premier League. Just how seismic was this victory for Arsenal? A 1-0 win against a team they haven't beaten in the league since December 2015.
I think it was 12 Premier League defeats on a trot, wasn't it? And psychologically for the players as well, it's massive, because I referenced back to the Community Shield when obviously it was 1-1 after added on time. Trossard comes on, scores in the 11th minute. And I thought that might give the players the belief that they could actually beat Man City. The first 20-25 minutes was very nervy, and that was down to obviously David Raya, because his decision making with the ball weren't great with his feet. He gave it away a couple of times. He came for a couple of crosses.
Crook thought it was in.
Well, when he was closed down,
take a breath.
Exactly. Yeah, I think Phil Foden went and closed him down outside of his right foot, and the whole of the Emirates Stadium thought it was in, and it gets the side net in, so you get away with that one. After that 25 minutes, everybody calmed down. I thought Arsenal in the second half looked quite assured without actually causing Man City much of a threat. But on the other side of it, Man City weren't causing Arsenal any threats. So they had one shot on target in the whole game, Man City.
And do you know what? It was interesting, because I think if you watched the game, you were there, and we spoke to Mikel Arteta about this after the game. You and I were in the room with him. You were asking the questions, and we were listening to what he had to say about the game. And he said it's so difficult, it's so hard, because they can do this, they can do that, they can play players here, they can create opportunities there, and you have to be so concentrated. And Declan Rice, I thought, did a great job at staying concentrated and stopping that supply into the forwards. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I thought he was man of the match, Declan Rice. Obviously, he was responsible for the goal line clearance early on when the header from Guardiola that looked a certain goal. He made a brilliant tackle, which really epitomised his performance midway through the second half. Matheus Nunes, who actually looked quite lively when he came on, he put a lovely 1-2 with Haaland, looked like he was going to just bulldoze his way into the penalty area and maybe get a shot away. And Declan Rice has put in a perfectly timed slide tackle and taken the ball away from him. I think he showed why Arsenal were so desperate to sign him, why they were willing to go above £100 million for him. And we spoke about it before the game. Is this the opportunity for Declan Rice to prove he belongs right at the top of the food chain in the Premier League? And I think he did prove that. I think Perry's right. Assured is the word that I would use for Arsenal. It was tactically a very disciplined display. It was their intelligent performance. And even more impressive, they did it without their star boy, Bukayo Saka. So it did feel like a statement victory.
Does it show that they've closed the gap on Manchester City? Because the gulf was huge between them before.
Yeah, the gap's closed. It's closed. They believe now that they can beat Man City, especially after the result today. And that was epitomised in the second half from Arsenal's goal, which was all 4 subs were involved in the goal. Like Thomas Partey dropping deep into the right-back position with his sort of quarterback pass. Tomiyasu, I said at the time, he's supposed to be playing left-back. What's he doing playing that inside left? But I think when you're a player, you get a feeling that you can force the game and you can win the game.
Hold on, that's not what Arteta said to us. We said to him, why was Tomiyasu up there? And he said, I don't know. I've got to learn to speak better Japanese because I couldn't get the instructions properly.
But again, but as a feeling as a player, you say Tomiyasu's gone from left back to that inside left position. His decision, his header was perfect into Kai Havertz.
Yeah.
His decision was perfect.
The touch from Havertz deserves appreciation.
Well, chest,
I think.
and then we thought, he was going to shoot, and he just laid it off. You get the luck. Marcelli gets the luck with deflection, but you make your own luck, because if Tomiyasu doesn't make that run forward and Partey doesn't have the proper pass, then you don't get it. And I was really surprised at Man City's lack of reaction, because I said they had 8 minutes, and I was thinking they're gonna get a chance, create a chance from somewhere. And there was nothing in that 8 minutes. I don't think David Raya had a save to make.
Well, it's 3 games now without Erling Haaland scoring a goal, which for him is a pretty dry spell. But more importantly, it's back-to-back defeats in the Premier League for the first time in 5 years for Pep Guardiola and Manchester City. How significant is that?
I think it is significant. He deflected it away when I asked him about that, and he said that's not the story. The story is that Arsenal have beaten us for the first time after
He's the editor now,
12 losses in a row. But it is a story, and I think if you look at the season as a whole, there has been a drop-off from Manchester City. Obviously, the absence of Rodri didn't help. I think we saw again, as we did at Molineux, just how important he is. We've seen that other key players have moved on. He's tried to regenerate the squad a little bit. But I think when you've basically completed football, as they did last season, if you speak to Roy Keane about the season after Manchester United won the treble, subconsciously, some players do drop off. And I think we're seeing that from Manchester City. I think the fact he left Grealish on the bench was really interesting as well. Last season, we felt like Grealish had really arrived as a £100 million Manchester City player. He was a big part in their success. He's just not really able to contribute so far this season. And I wonder, is that Pep Guardiola thinking that maybe Grealish over-celebrated that success?
Well, he's had some injury problems as well, hasn't he? But it was a game crying out for a bit of creativity, a game crying out for someone to take it by the scruff of the neck. And in the end, it was Arsenal that did that. They had a control on the game, and I thought that was quite impressive. There was an incident in the first half which I think deserves scrutiny. The first tackle by Kovacic on Ødegaard was a borderline, could have been a red card on a different day. If that is given as a red card, they're not going to overturn it. But Kovacic, should he have been sent off for a second yellow card very shortly afterwards?
Absolutely. It was a tackle on Declan Rice where he's left his foot, his right angle where you show your studs, and he's no intention of playing the ball. He catches Declan Rice on his ankle. I think Michael Oliver, who I think is an excellent referee, I think he bottled it. I think he looked at that and he thought, this is too early in the game. He didn't want to be the one who had that influence on the game. If it was in the 65th or 70th minute, I think he would have sent him off. But I think because it was in the first half, he didn't. But 100%, it was the wrong decision.
The thing is that this week the narrative has all been about VAR not intervening in a big decision which arguably has cost Liverpool a game. Then you come to this situation this week where the referee has clearly missed a major... I asked the question, should he have been sent off? We all clearly know he should have been sent off. Every one of us has looked at that situation and gone, that's a yellow card. Why has he not made that call? And how damaging is that, bearing in mind the context in which it's happened?
Well, it didn't change the outcome of the game.
It didn't, but it could have done it.
Yeah.
It could have done easily.
I think if
it would have been a
Arsenal-
different game if they'd been playing 10 men for longer.
If Arsenal had not won the game, then I think Mikel Arteta would have made a lot more out of it than he did. I think the newspapers tomorrow morning will have made more out of it than they have. And actually, despite what Pep Guardiola said, the story is that Manchester City have lost back-to-back games, that Arsenal have beaten the team that they ran so close last season. I'm not sure that the Kovacic incident, as a result of that, will get so much scrutiny. But you're being quite kind to Michael Oliver. You described it as the referee missing the incident. I don't think he missed it. I agree with Perry. I think he bottled it. I think he was in the perfect position. That the tackle was not dissimilar to the one that he brandished a yellow card for in the initial instance.
Yeah.
So I think Michael Oliver has made a conscious decision not to send him off.
Well, that's the wrong decision.
And it's the wrong decision.
It is the wrong decision, and VAR can't intervene because it's a second yellow card, or would have been a second yellow card.
I'm not in favour of that rule.
Well, that is the rule. So you have to judge the referee on the VAR on the basis of the rules that are in place. You can't say, well, I don't like it, so the VAR should have got involved. It can't get involved.
Also, that's a subjective decision from Michael Oliver on the yellow card, isn't it? So I don't want him to get involved. There's too many interferences. There's too many interferences.
Yeah. The referee's got to make the call, but the referee's got to be stronger in those circumstances, I think. What does this do to Arsenal's title hopes?
I said before the game that if we lost, I didn't think we had any chance of winning the title. And I said if we won the game, I said that psychological boost that it has, and it gives you even more assurance, even more confidence, that there's every chance that Arsenal go on and win the title.
That's not what you said.
That's
not what you said.
What did I say?
You said to me afterwards,
they're going
to win the title.
Well, there you go. I said they'll go on and win the title.
Did he say it on air?
I don't know. He kept saying it to me privately. I don't know. Did you say it on air? We were only on air for about a second after the end of the game, so...
No, you were too busy singing North London Forever. you got banging to it, by the way. You just adopted our song.
It's very catchy.
But the atmosphere was rocking, to be fair.
The atmosphere was rocking. So
Yeah.
do you now think, after just 8 games of the season, Arsenal are going to win the title?
Yes, I do. I said Declan Rice could be the game changer, which, when you said about his qualities, I think he's like you get the sniffer dogs at Heathrow Airport where they're sniffing. He sniffs danger everywhere. And he's had that physicality because Odegaard said in his captain's notes, Man City are very easy on the eye, free-flowing football. By the way, they put themselves about a bit, which was highlighted by Kovacic, because Man City have become a physical side. So you have to match that physicality. And I think it was like watching a game of chess. You know what I mean? It was brilliant to watch live. I'm not sure what it looked like as a spectacle watching it on the TV.
It wasn't edge of your seat stuff.
It wasn't free-flying football, but there was a lot of respect played from
Absolutely.
both teams. And just winning it like that, in the last 10 minutes, all the players go away international duty on a massive high. Then you're just hoping that nobody gets injured. Because Saka obviously can have his 2 weeks rest, which is probably needed for about 6-7 months. So as a gooner, it couldn't have gone any better, considering that wasn't our full strength side either.
Okay, so here's the question. We're only 8 games in. Can you legitimately say the title race has been blown wide open?
Yeah, probably, but not just by today's result. I think Wolves did their bit last weekend for that as well. I think it's more the fact that City have lost back-to-back games. They've actually lost their last 3 domestic games, if you include the League Cup defeat at Newcastle. The fact they're not at their best, the fact that teams have improved, and I would include Arsenal in that. You asked on air, have Arsenal closed the gap on Manchester City? I think the obvious answer is yes. I actually tipped Arsenal to win the title at the start of the season. So I think on what we've seen so far, not just from them, but from City as well, I'm going to go along with Perry.
I think before the game, you were saying you couldn't see your Arsenal going to score.
Manchester City in our pre-season preview.
Oh, in another preview that I did, I tipped Arsenal.
That was a preview of the preview.
We did 20 previews and all 20 teams have been tipped up at some point. There's nothing like a flip-flopper. He changes his mind so often, it's ridiculous. Has he changed his mind, though, on the little ball genius? Now, heading into this game, Manchester United were on the brink of an absolute crisis. In fact, heading into injury time, they were heading into an absolute crisis. You were there, you've watched it back, I've watched it back as well. I mean, this is basically, a 4-minute game for Manchester United at the end of the 90?
It's not Fergie time anymore, is it? It's Ten Hag time or McTominay time, whatever way you want to look at it. Because I was there and Manchester United for 90 minutes were awful. Absolutely. Brentford got their tactics spot on, like the 5-3-2. Visser and Mbeumo up front always looked really dangerous. You look at the goal that Man United gave away, where Casemiro's really sloppy in possession.
It was a dreadful goal.
And then, to be fair to Visser, he does really well. When Mbeumo at first, then Visser. Then there's 6 Man United players in the box, and none of them can clear the ball properly.
Well, Lindelof's clearance was awful.
He gets his feet all mixed up. Then it comes to Jensen, and it's a controlled shot. But Onana, the angle that we had was watching it, we couldn't tell that it hadn't gone straight in the corner, and it actually goes under his right forearm. So he dives up instead of actually diving down and across. So that was his fault. And then, to be fair to Ten Hag, he just went all in. He basically went 4-2-4. He had 4 forwards on. And I give Thomas Frank a little bit of criticism because he substituted Wissa. And what that meant was there wasn't the threat in behind with those two up front. And then Manchester United could then start getting further up the pitch. And they actually pressed Brentford in, and Brentford dropped deeper and deeper and deeper. And to be fair to McTominay, his first goal was a brilliant finish. His first touch where he pulls out the air, then swivels with his volley. And his second goal, obviously, Harry Maguire heads it back across. Ethan Pinnock was absolutely outstanding. It was up there with Craig Dawson's performance when he against Erling Haaland. He switched off for 1 second, and that was when he didn't pick up McTominay, and he scores the header. So if this was a group of Man United players that I thought had heart and soul and determination, this could be a pivotal part of their season, could be a turning point. I'm not sure if it is. I think it could paper over cracks.
Well, on that's quite interesting, is it? Because Erik ten Hag said afterwards, these are the games that can be fuel to the dressing room. Every player, every second he's on the pitch, has to deliver that. Can this be a turning point for Manchester United?
That's a no.
Well, you hope so. You hope so, but
how confident are you about it?
No, I'm not confident. You know, based on what we've seen so far, we thought the Palace win that midweek was a turning point, having beaten Burnley a few days earlier, and then they go and lose to Palace in the league. This is a Manchester United side that have a weak mentality, that is littered with weak characters, that is littered with players who don't have a particularly substantial backbone. So I think a lot's going to depend on what Erik ten Hag does with his next team selection. They've got Sheffield United away next. That has to be a victory. He was bold. He took off Casemiro at half-time. He shouldn't start the Sheffield United game. He took off Marcus Rashford, which, as you know, I was crying out for him not to be selected in the starting lineup last weekend. He shouldn't start against Sheffield United. Garnacho should be in. Maguire should keep his place. I think Erik ten Hag needs to make these ruthless decisions in order for it to be a turning point. And McTominay should start as well.
It's interesting that you say that, and I was going to ask you the question about ignoring reputations, because one of the things he didn't do after that Palace game was build on the success that they had, which was they managed to keep a clean sheet, they managed to create opportunities, and then instead of pressing the go button on the return of Maguire, return of Garnacho, who he'd given a dressing down to and said, "You're not doing enough for me off the ball," instead of taking Rashford out of the team and punishing him for not playing well enough, he decided to go back to the tried and tested, and it backfired. So this time, has he got the ability, has he got the strength to take those big name players out of the team and play some of the younger and less heralded players?
Well, the Palace team the Man United against Palace in the cup game, he had Pellistri, he had Hannibal, and you mentioned Garnacho. And he left Garnacho and Hannibal and only played Pellistri in the next game. This Man United team, he kept saying about McTominay, all his interviews was about heart, wasn't it? He said he's got the heart, he's got the Man United heart, he wanted to get in the box, had the determination, desire. That's what he's got to be brave with the younger players, because even when Man United were 1-0 down against Brentford, normally you'd get a bit of a surge from the crowd. There was a bit of a acceptance, as if to say, we can't see how getting ourselves out of this.
That's how I felt, to be honest.
And then for McTominay to come on, and obviously he had Man United had goal disallowed as well, quite rightly for offside, wasn't it, when Martial come back? Yeah. So I think the Man United fans thought that's our chance, and that's gone. So he's got to have, Ten Hag, the courage of his convictions. He's got to make sure that he puts a heart and soul into this, because the culture in the whole club ain't good. It's basically rotten from the top all the way down to the players. The culture isn't great. Marcus Rashford, Rorislav on the right-hand side for Brentford, he looked like Cafu yesterday. He was just charging up and down that right-hand side. And I think Marcus Rashford had his braces caught in the goal, because he won't come back over the halfway line. You just watch it and just go...
We've been saying this for ages. I sent you during the Bayern Munich game, I was taking videos of his performance and sending it to you before the last international break, because he just refused to do anything other than a token gesture in terms of coming back. And that's a cultural thing that has to change. But I mean, we should be a little bit surprised that there wasn't that belief that they were going to come back, because, you know, it's Manchester United. They've always come back in the Premier League. I mean, how often have we seen Manchester United 1-0 down, going into the stoppage time in the Premier League and come back and win the game? It's happened loads of times, hasn't it?
Yeah, but you're going back to a bygone
era.
No,
it's never happened before. Would you believe this? Erik ten Hag is the first ever Manchester United manager to be trailing going into Premier League stoppage time and win the game.
What about that Steve Bruce game against Sheffield Wednesday?
I think they must have equalised just before the 90-minute
Really?
mark. Yeah, okay. I read this yesterday.
Are you questioning stats?
Are you questioning stats, man?
What's happening?
To be honest with you, I did read it in one of the papers, so I've just nicked it out of them.
So now you just blame, just in case you are
Just in
wrong.
case I am.
Massive, but
I'm going to claim a little bit of credit for the victory, by the way.
Oh yeah.
I haven't told
How?
you this
You
yet.
weren't there.
No, I'm quite.
You were at Fulham versus Sheffield United. How are you claiming it?
I'm quite a superstitious.
was you touching
fella.
the radio like
No.
Uri Geller? It's like getting
So
a bit of warmth in there.
we'll go back to the Champions League final in 1999, and I changed my socks with 5 minutes to go in that game.
Well, you ain't changed them since.
So that's why
Smelt like it earlier.
That's why they won the treble. And I was with Adrian Durham at Fulham, and obviously we were going back to John Dunn, it was at Old Trafford for reports, and I thought I can't bear any more of this. So I actually took off the earpiece that was playing the output of the programme, and just therefore listening to Adrian. And I thought, if I take this earpiece off, they're going to score. Because, I was fed up with, let's go back to Old Trafford. They've still not scored, they're still losing 1-0. So I took off the earpiece. And then, of course, 2 minutes later, Adrian says goal at Old Trafford, put the earpiece back on. It's 1-1.
Yeah, it's almost entirely down to you.
Mystic Crook.
Luton 0, Spurs 1. That was our offering on game day on Saturday. 10-man Spurs managing to maintain their unbeaten record. They are top of the table as we stand going into the international break, which is great for Ange Postecoglou, I spoke to yesterday. Some big revelations that came out of this particular game, including that to celebrate the victory, when I was standing outside the Tottenham dressing room, they were playing Dolly Parton, Islands in the Stream.
One for the kids.
It's about normally a bit of garage or isn't it like
So
a drum and bass or
I
something?
actually said to Ange, Ange, is this down to you? And he went, what are you trying to say, mate?
Yeah, you told him he was
And
old.
I said, well, it's more closer to your generation than theirs, to be. It shocked me, to be honest.
I think Ange got a bit of Kenny Rogers in him, don't you think?
Do you think so?
Yeah, oh, yeah, he could do a bit of
They also had Earth, Wind and Fire.
Boogie Wonderland.
No,
Yeah.
September.
Oh, right, but we're in October.
I don't know.
My money's on James Madison, by the way.
Do you know what?
To be the jukebox jury.
I'm pretty certain it was Madison, to be honest with you. Islands in the Stream sounds right up his street. Actually, Ryan Mason came out of the dressing room and I said, Dolly Parton? He went, I love this, to be fair. This was a game of misses, though, wasn't it? Richarlison missing in the first few minutes of the match, missing another one just after that. Pedro Porro, Maddison, all missing opportunities. Kulusevski, 12 shots in the first half for Spurs, and they didn't score a goal. And then they come out in the second half. Adebayo misses one from 2 yards out, and then Tottenham go up the other end and punish them.
Adebayo actually tackled himself. Because when the ball comes in from the right-hand side, all he's got to do is slide in with his left foot.
Yeah, no faith in his left foot, did he?
Yeah, he's gone with the right foot and tackled himself. I have to say, from Spurs' point of view, that they showed a lot of character and a lot of resilience. Because Kenilworth Road isn't an easy place to go to, by the way, because Luton are very physical. And he made a decision at half-time. He took off Richarlison and put Højbjerg on to give him that bit of steel in there. And he took Maddison and Son off when they were 1-0 up and coming a little bit of pressure. So he's not afraid to make big decisions.
He takes Maddison and Son off every week, which is infuriating for everyone who plays fantasy football.
Yeah, but I think that time it was more tactical rather than obviously to save him. It was a brilliant goal from Ricky van der Ven, wasn't it? Where Maddison does great on the touchline and he opens his body out and like sidefoots with left foot. And I must admit, say it does pain me, but there's a different feel to Spurs at the moment. There's a different resilience to them to see that 1-0, and especially with embarrassingly Basuma getting sent off.
Well, I was going to ask you about that because that was an Oscar-worthy performance, wasn't it? I mean, it was pretty embarrassing for Yves Basuma. Ange Postecoglou refused to throw him under the bus. He said, "Look, he's made a mistake. He's helped us out enough. His mates had to cover him, and they did. So he's lucky. Now he's got to pay us back over the course of the season, which he will do." I was actually really impressed with the referee, John Brooks, because he didn't have no truck with it. Sometimes you see the situation which developed at Manchester City's game on Sunday, where Kovacic should have been sent off for a second yellow card, which was a hefty challenge, a reckless challenge. The second yellow card didn't come out because the referee didn't want to give it, and then you think that he sent off Yves Basuma in the first half of a game, one of which was for diving. On another day, he didn't have to make that call, but it was the right thing to do, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's disappointing from Basuma because he's been one of the star players for Spurs this season. It's interesting because the common conception is that Tottenham are in this position because they are dramatically improved. They've got this character that Perry says, but also because they benefited from a kind fixture run. But if you look at their next few games, there's not too many banana skins in there. I don't think they're going to go away anytime soon.
So are they in the title race?
I think realistically they're in, obviously, the race for the Champions League. If you said to Spurs fans beginning the season that's where it'd be, they would have snapped your hands off because I don't think their squad...
Being diplomatic again, he actually said after the game today, Tottenham, no, they're not involved in it.
but I thought, are you like MI5 or something? Like we're just recording everything. No, I actually said their squad I don't think is going to be strong enough because you mentioned Son, you mentioned Maddison. They're only an injury away from one of their main players. And you mentioned Richarlison, they're missing. They should have been 3 or 4-0 up in the first 20 minutes.
Absolutely.
And they weren't half chances, they were proper chances. But from Spurs fans' point of view, they're actually enjoying watching their team play football, don't they? They've got a bit of joy there.
Talking of which, Burnley 1, Chelsea 4. Wow. What a performance in the second half from Chelsea anyway. They went 1-0 down. They weren't very good in the first half. Second half, he sends them out with a flea in their ear, Mauricio Pochettino. 3 minutes before the start of the second 45. Cole Palmer, Conor Gallagher, Raheem Sterling, Bosch, 4-1. Sterling was magnificent.
He was. And I guess there's a message in there to Gareth Southgate because he's been overlooked for yet another England squad. And as we sit here recording this on Sunday night, the impression I get from sources close to Raheem is that he doesn't expect the call, even if Bukayo Saka is withdrawn. Nicholas Jackson as well, we've mentioned him, what a brilliant finish that was to seal the victory. And as you say, it was a really impressive second half performance. I still worry for Burnley. Yeah, I think a lot of people gave them a little bit too much kudos at the start of the season because of what they did last year under Vincent Kompany. I don't think they've been particularly good in the Premier League, and I think they're probably going to end up back in the Championship. But it was good for Chelsea to pick up those 3 points on the road because they've got a difficult run of games coming. And I think you can see in that second half that maybe things are starting to come together, as they should when you spent £1 billion.
You must have got a shipment of new lemons to suck up that negative energy.
They got rid of them all. Apparently got new lemons in.
Got new lemons in, exactly. Sucking up the negative energy. Yeah, probably because they went off too quickly because they were sucking up so much negative energy.
Well,
which
there's too many lemons on the pitch to start off with.
Well, listen, one of those is not Cole Palmer because he showed his melons to step up and dispatch that penalty. At 1-1, when you're that age, that young and so new to a club, that takes some serious kahunas, doesn't it?
Yep, it does take a lot of bottles to take it. It was a definite penalty, wasn't it? Like Raheem Sterling, brilliant down the left-hand side. And I just looked at Chelsea. I just thought with Broja up front, I just thought that he gave them more of a focal point. He gave, obviously, Sterling on left-hand side, Cole Palmer on the right-hand side, something to play off of. And I think they look better with that focal point.
Armando Broja, who scored against Fulham and played a part in this game as well. 5 defeats at home for Burnley, and I would be a little bit concerned if I was Vincent Kompany about the nature of the collapse in the second half.
And the number of goals they concede. As I say, I think people have overestimated Burnley. They may well prove to be the best of the 3 newly promoted clubs, but at the moment it's very hard to make a case for those 3 newly promoted sides not going straight back to the Championship.
Is it only Sheffield United was conceding more goals than Burnley?
Yeah, and that's quite
sad. Exactly. Clean sheet, so they need to get clean sheets.
Someone who did keep a clean sheet at the weekend were Everton, 3-0 victories over Bournemouth. They've ended their misery at home. It's the first time in a year they've scored more than 1 goal at home. There was a great headline in one of the papers this weekend which read this, Perry: Everton aren't bad enough to go down. By contrast, Bournemouth ... Well,
it was the first time they'd scored more than 1 goal at home since October 2022. Sean Dyche never panics, does he? Every time you see him interviewed, he said he doesn't.
I'm a bit worried about him.
What, because he doesn't panic?
No, because last night during a post-match interview, he quoted XG as the reason for being optimistic, and Sean Dyche and XG doesn't really mesh together.
But to be fair to him, at Goodison Park, their XG has been really good. They just haven't had anybody to finish it.
But when you're citing XG, I think as a football, it's all right for me to do it and you to do it because we're analysing the game. When you're a manager, it doesn't look great.
He might have been talking about his clothes. He might have been like, thought he was extra large or something, mightn't he? But again, it's the centre forward like Calvert-Lewin. Obviously back fit, playing up front. Harrison coming on the right-hand side, which was a brilliant goal, wasn't it? A brilliant first-time lob.
Brilliant finish.
Yeah, and so they've got a bit of Decore and Onana. So through the spine of their team, they're in no danger of getting relegated. They can end up halfway without any shot.
No danger of getting relegated?
No chance, absolutely no chance. They've got too many. If you look at the group of players, individually, the group of players he has at Everton are far better than the group of players that
they've almost been relegated in each of the last 2 years.
But he's now putting his own mark on it. At the back, they're a lot better, where they're not conceding as many goals. I said it was their clean sheet. I said with the balance with Harrison right-hand side, McNeil on the left-hand side, Decore and Onana.
They've got too many good players.
Well, I said to you at the beginning of the season, I thought they were acquiring a squad of experience, and I thought that would mean that they'll be okay. But I don't think they'll be completely out of danger. Unlike Bournemouth, who, let's be clear, have yet to win a game. They're in a situation under Andoni Iraola where he was brought in to replace a manager who did a very good job last year. At some stage in the future, that pressure is going to start to come on his shoulders, because from what we're seeing at this moment in time, look, I mean, slip by Zabani for the first goal, okay, it can happen. The goalkeeper makes a mistake for the second goal. Third goal, I don't know what the goalkeeper's doing. He ends up trussed up in the net before the shot goes in.
There was a foul, though, in the build-up to that third goal. I think it should have probably been pulled back. Adam Smith was taken out right at the start.
And then would that have changed the result?
No, it wouldn't, but
Right.
2-0 looks better than 3. But I think you're right. I actually expected Bournemouth to possibly come away with a positive result just based on Everton's poor home form. I think it's not so much the defeat, it's the nature of the defeat, the fact they've allowed Everton to score 3 goals, that they're 12 games now without a win dating back to last season, the longest such run in their history, and they've got the return of Gary O'Neill to come in the first game after the international break, and we know Gary, he'll be very diplomatic publicly. He's going to want to stick one on Bournemouth, absolutely no question about that.
It's just another game.
It definitely isn't. And if they lose that game, then they go to Burnley, they don't get points from that game, I think all of a sudden questions will be asked.
They'll assess it in May though, won't they?
Oh, is it another project? Is it?
I think they see it as a long-term project, and they expected pain at the start of the season. They'll point to the fact that they've actually picked up more points in the corresponding fixtures this year than they did last, but they're in the relegation places, and their former manager has just beaten Man City.
The one thing I worry about in this league, though, and I think that, you know, you look at Iraola and you can see what he's trying to do, or you know what he's trying to do because you've spoken to him and you've spoken to people around him, so you've got an idea of his philosophy, but you can't see that translating perfectly onto the pitch at this moment in time. And what worries me about it is, in this league in particular, playing catch-up is really difficult.
Well, pressure builds, pressure mounts, your players lose confidence, and the way that he wants his team to play is obviously the centre half splitting and going through the lines. When you're asking your players to play like that and you're not winning, players don't make the right angle. They just hide a little bit. And the way that Bournemouth play as well, I just wonder where their creativity is coming from. Because obviously Lewis Cook plays, doesn't he? He's a holding midfield player. Rothwell can play in there as well. Philip Billing tries to get in himself off of Solanke, but there's not a lot of creativity.
They've got the boy Alex Scott when he's fit, who I think will be a good player, but unfortunately he's not been able to get himself fit.
That's been a problem though, hasn't it, in terms of new recruits. They've all been injured up until this point. Okay, let's look at the big game from Sunday, early kickoff. Brighton 2, Liverpool 2. This was brilliant. It was a fantastically entertaining game. We were all at the Emirates and we were watching it on the screens. And Liverpool got 2 goals. Brighton ended up getting a late equaliser in the match. It was great for them that they've managed to put a point on the board after last week's thrashing. But the games involving these two teams always involve a lot of goals, no matter who they are playing. Liverpool keep conceding the first goal. Brighton just keep conceding goals. Is that going to limit both of their ambitions going forward this season?
I think it's Liverpool's conceded the first goal, last 5 away Premier League games on the trot. So you're always playing catch-up and get themselves back in like 2-0 with 2 goals from Mo Salah. You're probably going to talk about the penalty in a minute as well, where may have been sending off. But Jurgen Klopp will be distraught for Lewis Dunk's equaliser, because when the ball comes in from the left-hand side, Solly Marsh just feeds it in, and Liverpool go zonal along the 6-yard box. So basically, when it's zonal, when it comes into your zone, you attack the ball. Robertson's at the near post, he lets it go past him. Matip, Lewis Dunk, I thought when we heard the commentary, I thought it was a header. It wasn't. He actually volleys it in from about, half a yard off the floor?
Yeah.
How can somebody score from a free kick from a wide area in the middle of the 6-yard box when they're volleying it in? That's going to be Liverpool's problem, is going to be their defensive side of it.
Yeah, West Ham also had a bit of a problem with defending set pieces in their game against Newcastle, which finished 2-2. You wanted to talk about the penalty decision. Well, there's a couple of penalty decisions in this Brighton-Liverpool game which I think deserve scrutiny. The first one where Salah scores from the spot after Szoboszlai is brought down by Pascal Gross. Now, he takes no attempt to play the ball, but the view of the referee, the VAR and the PGMOL is that he did not deny a goal-scoring opportunity. So I ask you, if a player of Szoboszlai's quality is round the goalkeeper He's 7 yards from the goal, maybe 8 yards from the goal, and he's only got Lewis Dunk to beat. Is that a goal-scoring opportunity or not?
Yeah. And the issue again here is it's down to interpretation. There's too many grey areas with the way that they're making decisions. What the referee and the VAR didn't think was a goal-scoring opportunity this week, a different referee and VAR will think it's a definite goal-scoring opportunity next weekend. I think it was probably a red card.
But he's basically 1v1 with the goalkeeper because Lewis Dunk doesn't get on the line until Szoboszlai is pulled down by Pascal Gross because he's actually going lateral, isn't he? So he's 1v1 with Verbruggen, so he's going to go around him. So in that period of time that happens, it's 100% a goal scoring opportunity. And again, it's just another mistake.
Apparently, as far as I understand it, they believe there was doubt there, and because there's doubt, it's not a clear goal scoring opportunity. So that denial of a goal scoring opportunity has to be the next action is going to be the likelihood of a goal.
Maybe they thought it was Darwin Nunez and not Szoboszlai.
Oh, that was a bit naughty. It's not going to make you many friends in Liverpool.
Well,
I doubt you've got many friends there either.
Do you think?
Yeah, Manchester United have won a game.
Yeah, exactly,
The cocky crookie is back. Let's talk about the other decision that Brighton weren't happy about, which was the handball by Virgil van Dijk. Now, I must admit, I've only seen it once, and my view on it when I first saw it in normal time was always handball because it hit his hand. But then when I see it the second time, I think it flicked off another part of his body, and his arm wasn't too far away from his body. It wasn't like the Luton one where the player's going in with his hand up there. So I don't know.
Lewis Dunk one against Luton on the opening weekend.
Yeah, but haven't they admitted that was wrong, that one? That was clearly wrong, that decision. So then, I don't know, it's a bit grey.
I don't think, because Matoma cuts in on the right-hand side and he shoots, and he said, I think it comes off over his thigh or just on his knee, but his arm isn't up that way, his arm is down there.
It's away from his body, though, isn't it, a little bit?
Yeah, but you ain't going to do the river dance as a centre-half, are you? Make
That's how they
smaller.
want you to be, Perry. They want you to walk around
smaller,
like Michael Flatley.
like a penguin. Is that really? You've got to walk around like that?
Luigi Collina's got this sort of vision, really, that the best, it'd be better if footballers just tape their arms to their body, I think.
Yeah, I must admit, they've taken a lot of stick. I don't think that one was a penalty.
No, I certainly think we should probably lay off them this weekend if we can, although it hasn't always been possible. West Ham 2, Newcastle 2, I mentioned that. No Callum Wilson, but Isak getting 2 goals there. They were denied a victory, Newcastle United, after Hamid Kudus' first Premier League goal. It was a really well-taken finish on the edge of the penalty area. That was excellent from them, and the atmosphere was great afterwards. West Ham have won 7 of the last 11 now, but they're doing very, very well. It's their best start to a season since 1983-84. What were you doing in 1983-84? Can you remember?
I was 2.
Yeah.
I was growing
In
my
fact,
mullet.
You're probably down the pub then.
I was growing my mullet. Billy Ray started just getting a little shaved at the sides, like Ginger David Crockett hat.
I think I probably would have had a mullet, maybe a little bit later than that. I think 86, 87 would have been mullet time for me. What was I in 83, 84? 5 or 6, something like that? Yeah, you wish. And what else do we need to mention? Wolves 1, Aston Villa 1. Pau Torres with a goal for Aston Villa after Hwang had put them in front. Actually, Pau Torres, good job that he equalised and atoned for his error because he was part of the reason they conceded a goal.
You're not having Pau Torres on.
No.
Give him a break. I mean, he was in the left-back position.
It's not about the fact that I don't think he's a good player. I do think he's a really good technical footballer,
pace.
but I'm worried about him in the Premier League, which is why I think Unai Emery started with a back 3 today.
Yeah.
With the Wolves front 3, there's loads of pace.
Oh, Neto.
And there's Neto on the right-hand side, again, does his river dance like foot overs, and he's got Pau Torres where he wants him. And to be fair to Hwang Hee-Chang, he scored 60% of Wolves' last 10 goals. He scored 6 goals. And what he's doing, he's actually, when the ball's in the wide areas, he's making sure he's getting himself in the 6-yard box. Exactly what he did for his goal, gets across the near post first time and just finishes it.
Fulham, you were there on Saturday, 2-1 win, 3-1 win against Sheffield United. A couple of own goals in this game. Wes Fotheringham, I mean, it wasn't really an own goal, was it? It was just a spectacular slip hit from Tom Kearney.
It was a freak of a goal. But when your luck's out, your luck's out. Obviously, they lost John Egan before the game. He's going to be out for several months, according to Paul Heckingbottom. They lost Chris Basham.
That was an awful
really
injury.
Horrible
best
injury.
wishes to him, by the way.
It was one of those where, as soon as it happened, I looked at Anthony Robinson, who was almost in tears, the nearest Fulham player to the scene. So it was a bit reminiscent of David Boost against Manchester United all those years ago. We wish Basham a speedy recovery, but that's 2 big absences for Sheffield United. Their squad is not deep anyway. I think they're going to have it all to do, not just to not be relegated, but not to finish rock bottom of the Premier League. Fulham did what they had to do, weren't spectacular, but they're a better team with Vinicius at the spearhead of their attack than they are with Jimenez. The goal they scored, actually, where Vinicius drops deep into midfield, plays a lovely flick around the corner to Pereira, and he lays it on a plate for Decordova-Reid to slot home. That was one of the best goals of the weekend, I think.
Ah, brilliant. The Pereira ball into the centre was excellent, but it started in the left fullback position, didn't it, with Anthony Robinson? I thought that it was a great team goal for Decordova-Reid to finish. They finished 3-1. Worth pointing out that Sheffield United's boss, Paul Heckingbottom, after 1 point from 8 games, turned around afterwards and said, we are still a bit naive at this level. And the experience of Egan, the experience of Basham being taken out of that team for a little while is going to be a problem. Now, at this point, usually in the podcast, I would pick up my book, close it and go Palace 0, Forest 0, and then just put it away. However, there was an unbelievable run by Murillo in this game, which I think, he sent me a message last night saying, I can't believe I'm staying up to watch this, the last game on Match of the Day. And I said, stick around, because Murillo does a fantastic darting run, reminiscent of the great Ozzy Ardiles or Maradona.
And there was a brilliant bit of skill from Morgan Gibbs-White
as
well,
was.
Where the ball drops over his shoulder from about 70 yards and he just tries to hook it on the volley. I know you've given a bit, so I actually thought it was 0-0. On the highlights, there was a lot of chances. Mateta missed like a great chance for Crystal Palace.
Yeah.
So, and he tried, because Palace haven't got Elise, Eza is not playing either, so that's struggling with creativity.
Two best players.
Yeah, exactly. And he played Edouard and Mateta, but I'd like to see them two play through the middle. But you play Edouard sort of on the left-hand side.
We were talking last night, and I said Palace without Eza are one of the most boring teams to watch in the league when he's not playing.
Yeah. But they're what you expect from a Roy Hodgson side. They're efficient. They're not going to concede many goals. I think Sam Johnson actually has had a really good start to the season. But I think maybe Forest will be the more pleased of the two, because they had those opportunities. Their away record is improving.
Absolutely.
And you having tipped your friend Steve Cooper to take them down this season,
Hold on.
I think they'll be absolutely fine.
Hold on, that is absolutely true. I did that when I'd spoken to him and realised he hadn't got the players that he wanted to get in. And then how many players did he get in after that?
I think they signed 7 on deadline day.
Right, okay, so I think it changed the complexion of the whole arrangement after that.
They've had as many clean sheets already away from home as what they had the whole of last season.
You tipped
And
Wolves to go down.
Yeah, but they had a different manager then.
Well, so what?
Do you
Exactly.
know what? I feel like a marriage guidance counsellor.
And what preview was that on, by the way? Who else did you tip on your other 20 previews that you did? Just change the
I think I tipped Wolves in all of them, to be honest.
you?
Crookie, do you know that this is recorded, right? They can reference it back, because if not, you know he's talking down the pub and go, I didn't say that. But,
That's what he says all the time.
Awonyi is out for
I
it's
know,
going to
it's
be
bad.
big for Forest. It's about a month.
Chris
Yeah,
was
it
not
is.
going to score the goals.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It's
that
gonna be
is a
big.
bit of a worry. Listen, it's international break. England play Australia and Italy. We'll make sure you're kept up to date with that on Premier League All Access over the next week, and any of the Premier League news that happens over the next few weeks. So we'll see you again soon. Perry, thank you very much. Are you going to go and celebrate the win now? You're going to do a
No, I'm
little
just
dance?
going to be the peacemaker between you two, just like hands across the sea.
We're staying in the same hotel room tonight.
Same room in it, apparently.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
like Morecambe and Wise.
Yeah, have a little cuddle. You can follow that on social media. It's not really, I'm not going to live tweet it or anything. We will be back though throughout the course of the week covering for White and Jordan. So if you enjoy the podcast, then you may well enjoy that as well. Come and join us on talkSPORT.